Good afternoon, beautiful beings of light. Welcome to the Wisdom Circle. My name's Priscilla. I'm with my co-host Heather, and we have Sun Psychic Jean and Terry Lee and Seeker Joan, and a special appearance by Miss Terry Suzuki today.
Hey.
Long
Unexpected,
distance.
delightful. So, for those that don't know, we get together once a month to discuss a particular subject and input from different ladies that have different perspectives on whatever subject we're talking about. And today it's going to be remote viewing, and Heather is our host, our hostess with the mostest, and she's going to take care of things. But we hope to make you laugh, feel included, maybe gain a little knowledge, because we certainly do. But our paths are unique. No two are alike. So just take what resonates and leave the rest and just enjoy yourself because this is a special group of ladies. And now I will turn it over to Heather.
Yeah. The only thing I'm going to ask you to do is get it set up so that you can put it up. I can run the slides once it's up, unless you want me to double click it. But okay, I got it. Or you.
There you go. Before you get started, would you like to say hello to the chat? There's some people in the chat.
Yeah, there's Akela, B24, MJ, us, Majestic Oracle. That's a cool name. I like your logo.
Yeah, that's our little J.
Yeah. Let's see if there's anybody else up
Hi,
there.
everybody. Welcome.
Yes, I'm so glad you're here. Wow, there's a lot of Crozone stuff.
That is a link to everybody's YouTube channel that's here today. So,
G. Covington and Anne. Anyway, welcome and thank you for coming to listen to me. Anyway, and us. So the first thing I was going to ask, since we're on remote viewing, I was going to ask the panel what, in one sentence, what their definition of remote viewing is, and then I'll give you what I found. So we'll start with you, Priscilla. You're at the top.
Okay. I would say that it is using your astral body to view a particular location or subject.
Okay. And then Jean.
I would say traveling between dimensions without regard to time or space.
Okay. And remote viewing for you, Terry Lee.
I would say it's an extension of your energy. And, science is catching up with that, actually, because they're starting to prove that. So a sense of your willingness to expand and become entangled, as it were, with other energies in other areas and other forms, so that you can see, hear, feel, taste, smell things from far away.
And Joan?
I think it's just sort of a different way of saying the same thing, sending your consciousness to a specific place to gather information.
Now that's different. Sending your consciousness and actually traveling there are two different things.
Okay.
And that one goes with what I came up with for remote viewing, because that we're supposed to be hidden and nobody was supposed to detect you.
Okay.
So, and Terry?
I would have to go with that it's kind of using the universe, the universal powers, kind of to go in your astral body somewhere else, take a look and come back.
Okay. Well, the definition I got, that's weird, was the act of seeing objects near or far by using the mind. The ability to view places, people, and activities at any place without being there personally and without the aid of cameras. So in other words, you're not astral traveling, you're just viewing it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, I began thinking
astral travel and remote viewing are actually two different things.
Yes, they are two different things, but boy, are they close.
Yeah.
So it was really hard. But it's like being able to acquire information about distance or non-distance. And a lot of times they teach you just coordinates, and that's where you go.
That's military.
That's military.
That's
They're the
military
ones who
stuff.
started it.
Mhm.
They're the ones that started it. It was an association with an idea of clairvoyance and knowing how you got that information. It's also sometimes what they call second sight. But all of us, or a lot of us, have experienced it from time to time. It might be an intuitive flash of insight that turns out to be correct. And remember that the procedures were all developed and funded by the United States military. And they had, huge studies on it. And it's really advanced a lot in the recent years. Although they're not necessarily doing it now, there are some colleges that are doing it and other projects. For instance, I'll go through these if I can get there. There are two main ones that they talk about now. Scientific remote viewing, which is actually styled after the original military version of remote viewing. And it's done mostly, there's a place called Foresighted Institute, and that's what they teach. Then you have controlled remote viewing, and that's a disciplined, much more disciplined remote viewing, and extensively used by psychic spies during the Cold War. And it has a long history of both intelligence gathering tool and research application. And that's taught a lot at International Remote Viewing Association. Now, Monroe Institute also teaches remote viewing, and I think theirs is just RV, remote viewing.
Well, they're the ones that actually trained the military. Started way back when. They were the ones that developed it, and the military came in and they did a lot of training.
Right. When you look at associated remote viewing, that's ARV. I couldn't believe there were so many different kinds of.
What's the difference?
It's a protocol at Mobius. It's associated remote viewing. In other words, they each target a target set to be used, and then they code it. For instance, they may draw a picture of an apple. Well, an apple meant one thing, and a pair of scissors meant something else, but it was like they were drawing their pictures in code as to what they were seeing. To me, that was very, that was hard to me. Because
Yeah, that sounds complicated.
not only do you have to remote view, you have to memorize that code and draw the right thing for the code. And then what?
So what kind of style do you consider yourself?
Me, I'm just a remote viewer.
That sounds like the best way to be.
I mean, a pair was another one. I don't remember exactly what pair means, but nobody ever does that. But it just means all they do is answer with yes or no for their
Right.
questions. And Mobius, now he evidently is a large figure in it. And both PAIR and SRI, which is, or ARY, they started with an idea of non-local awareness used in successful remote viewing studies. And then they had to prove that what they were seeing was right. So that became more of a psychological type thing. What did you feel on it? What did you do? You know. But and there are different styles of remote viewing, and it all started in the 1960s, and it's just kept going, just kept going. What is amazing to me is that it's 75% accurate.
Wow.
much more than I thought it was going to be. Typically, in an archaeological project, they would use that to help analyze things and find out where they should dig. Where is it? How far down?
Mhm.
So they were
Oh,
using,
cool.
they were using remote viewing for that. And it really, I think it can be a lot more accurate than we think.
Oh,
You know, usually when I describe something as being deep, it's like, oh, it's really, really deep. I suppose if I sat there and thought long enough and could think in terms of feet or miles or down below, I could tell you that. But I don't normally think that way. I just say, oh, it's so deep, you can't see it from here. So a lot of us have this ability. We're probably not aware of it. I wasn't. You may be a talented psychic and not even know it. And some of you were to start with. Now you know it. And your intuition needs to be really good. And there's a component in all of us that is connected to the rest of the universe. We've been studying long enough. We know this, but there are a lot of people out there that don't. So remote viewing is similar subjects demand a new perspective and theoretical framework for describing our universe, because our universe is so much bigger than what we thought it was.
oh yeah.
And so we're just beginning to learn about it. So what do you see that is good for us? So, I mean, how can we use remote viewing in our everyday stuff?
Oh, that's an interesting question. How can you
Mm.
use it in everyday stuff?
Yeah.
I
Besides,
don't know.
somebody go
Look
check
in
this
the kitchen and see if the dog bowl is full. I don't know.
That's possible. Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, other than having somebody say, hey, go check that out, how else would we use it? How can we make it something useful for us to be using?
Can I
Anybody
take
got
this off
Well,
now?
perhaps if you felt like someone was like in the woods behind my house, or I saw something move and I like
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
was going out there. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, you could view them from a safe place.
Yes.
See if you
Yeah.
need to be worried.
Yes.
Good idea.
Or if I, need to
Yeah.
get the shotgun or something.
Anybody else?
I would check on children and grandchildren and make sure that they're okay.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
elderly parents, whichever, anybody that you're not physically attached to that you're, want to keep an eye on.
Or like in the second grade when my dog got hit,
Oh.
and my dad came back in and said the doctor was going to spend the night there, and if she made it through the night, she'd make it. I didn't know this is what I was doing, but I remote viewed that he was sleeping in a chair against the wall across from her kennel. He did stay all night, and it was in the animal hospital. I'd never been in the back rooms in the animal hospital, but I did eventually work there. And when I walked in, it was exactly as I'd seen it.
Wow.
I just thought I had a good imagination, you know. But yeah, checking on dogs.
That's
Anything
what
else?
Mom's always told us. You have such a good imagination, dear.
Exactly. But you need a good one in order to be able to do remote viewing.
Or any of the psychic work that we do.
That's right.
Truly.
Yep.
The imagination is the basis of all of it, really.
Yeah. So
Let me know when you want it back up.
when what?
You
Well,
want
what
to
about
slide back
what
up?
about
Are you
So
ready?
if there's
Very.
any questions anybody has so far, that's
Well,
fine.
here's one.
Okay.
Checking on an event you want to know the atmosphere of before going. I love that.
That's
Do I
cool.
want to go to that party?
Do I want it there? Yeah. Is it safe? That's cool. I like that.
Mhm.
I like
Anything
that
else?
too.
Anybody?
I don't see anything else.
Okay.
Priscilla's gone. I think she tried to put up your
Uh-oh.
There. Now she can put it up when she gets back. There There she goes.
Hey.
Okay, so it's the ability you can go within your mind. That was still continued with more stuff, but you have that ability. Most of us do. It's a little harder for those who are easily sidetracked. Squirrel, because you have to focus. And it always helps to have a piece of paper. I know when I do it, I just see one thing. If I start to talk about it, I start seeing tons of things. Or if I start to write about it, I can think of more things that need to be put down. But if I don't do that, that opening is where I stop. I
Oh,
don't go any
interesting.
further.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah.
Jean's nodding her head like, yeah.
But as you start relating what you see more, or I do anyway. And it was right that there was the military Stargate program.
Mhm.
And there are still lots of different ways that it's taught. There's even a workbook you can buy for remote viewing.
I had a workbook from the Monroe Institute.
Do you?
It was a workbook and CDs. That's how old it was, CD.
I
Wow.
know when I started to look at what they did to teach it, I'm going, that's too much work. I don't want to do all that. I
Well,
don't
just think
right now.
about it. Remote viewing is pretty much like everything else in our community these days. The veil's
do it.
thin. It's easier to connect. It's easier to do
Yeah, you don't
whatever
need
you want to do.
exactly. And good remote viewers,
Yeah, Cody says he has a friend who teaches remote viewing right now.
that's
Wow.
cool. That's
That's
cool.
good.
Has he ever thought about taking them?
Yeah.
Have you taken the class, Cody? Just curious.
Just curious. Yeah. So good remote viewers learn to trust their feelings of uncertainty and ambiguity. I think I said that.
Ambiguity.
Thank you.
That
Close.
works.
Anyway, and you have to trust yourself. And of course, a lot of us have difficulty with that. But
But
it's
that's
like
true with all of the clairs. You have to trust what we
Yeah.
do. It's just another layer.
And they were saying that somebody familiar with the military viewing program said that if somebody said, I nailed it, they were out of the program because they were looking for results rather than what they're actually seeing and feeling and maybe smelling, or because they're supposed to be able to use all the senses when they're doing this.
Mhm.
It's a different kind of educational system.
Interesting.
I think, Heather, when I was reading your slides, I found that the most interesting. That
Mhm.
that if they thought they were doing super great, that's when they were out. That
Oh,
there's
sorry.
more about your senses.
Because it wasn't an inquiring mind so much as it was, this is what's right, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
That makes sense.
right, because there's no way you're going to know if that information is right. At least not right away. Not unless you're in a controlled remote viewing where they're saying, okay, what's in the box? What shape is it? Then you're going to know. But I was looking at all these different places and all these different labels for remote viewing. And what I found was somebody came up with this for meditation, and it's critical for it. It's so important. Like quieting the mind. You've got to be able to have the mind not thinking about anything. And they actually gave a way to do this. I got to thinking when I was in Kansas and I was after work meditating every afternoon, I would count so that my breathing would become kind of regular, Well, this is counting too, but it's not the same. And I think I kind of like this one better. It says when you start counting from 1 to 20. And if something pops in your head during that counting of 1 to 20, you have to stop and start over again until you can do that counting 1 to 20 with no interruption from your brain. And then you know that your mind is quiet. And I
That's
thought,
always the biggest challenge,
yeah,
quieting the mind.
that's why I put that in there. I said, if you're struggling to achieve mental clarity and create a black void, the exercise seems to work. And I got to thinking, that's kind of what I did to start with. And I thought, this is easy. We can do this and really learn how to settle our minds quickly. So, and they also said that it's a form of meditation. Targeting remote viewing requires you to, at least for a period of time, enter a different state of consciousness. You have to be highly receptive. And it's generally thought to be a meditation by itself. Let's face it, when we meditate, we're listening for messages. When you're remote viewing, you're looking and feeling for whatever's there. In a way, a message. So, yeah, it's a meditation. Which I thought, okay, that makes sense. It's being ornery here. Oh, come on.
So MJ 420 says Dr. Whimsy teaches heart-centered viewing
That's cool.
instead of remote viewing.
She's
And Cody replied, I think it teaches you to feel your clairs more because it's all about those extra sensory perception. And that ESP was so big back in the 70s and 80s, wasn't it? It was all the rage.
Right.
That's all you heard about is ESP.
Yeah.
And
then
they also said that ESP, you had to have ESP in order to remote view. They were related.
And Sonia is right on track. She says, isn't it also using your clairs, not only the meditation for focus, you need to use your clairs to receive the information. So yes, that is right. Great, Sonia. That's great.
You guys are way ahead of me.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, that's good. That means they're already thinking. I like that. Because the next one says you have to be super deep receptivity. And I evidently have something that shouldn't be there. Anyway, it's said that our conscious mind can only interpret 10% of whatever it is we're thinking, at any given moment. But our conscious mind takes just a small sample of what's available. Meditation trains your mind to be more sensitive and more receptive so you can put more in. And I think that's probably part of why if I start talking, I get more and more and more because I've gone past the very beginning of it. So it just feeds me more. So, and I thought this was kind of cool because they said in order to meditate correctly and see, you got to tap into the quantum mind, which we're all just now learning more about. And people are saying, oh, yeah, it exists. It really does. Yeah, it does.
Yes, it does.
It permeates the whole universe. So it doesn't matter where you go in it, you set yourself to see in the universe, you're going to see it. Like I have a vision in my head of what it looks like in the center of the moon where the mermaids are. And it's cool. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's all enclosed in rock, but there seems to be light coming from crystals in the rock, and you can see the water, and it's beautiful. And there's rocky and sandy shores. I mean, it goes up into the rock, but it starts out as sand. Anyway, that's what I see when I think about the mermaids in the moon. And I think about the mermaids in the moon because Priscilla talked to them. And I wrote it down. So
it was actually Mars, not the moon.
Oh, Mars.
It was Mars.
Oh, you're right. It was Mars. You're absolutely right. It was Mars. Yeah.
Yes, we have friendly mermaid in Mars that communicates with us
Came
on
in and
occasion.
talked to us. And it was great. It really was. So,
Okay, let me just stop right there. That is a really good example of I was channeling a mermaid from Mars, and I don't see that. I just get the information telepathically, but Heather could see who it was that I was speaking with in the environment around it, which I couldn't because I was speaking or I was channeling that info. But Heather was actually viewing it at the same time that I was presenting her with the information, whatever that may have been. I don't remember at the moment.
yeah, I don't remember either, but yeah, like I said, I have a good imagination. So there were some, they had tips for how to do it. It didn't really matter what method you used, but they had some tips to help. So when the third party, that's whoever's asking you to do all this stuff, selects the target site, it'd be helpful to choose spots that have strong, bold, and uniquely visual features. Like,
Like the Sphinx,
the Sphinx, yeah.
Thanks.
You know
or
where
the
that
pyramids.
it helps make the transmission and reception of the target easier and more specific. And I'll tell you more. I'll tell you more about the Sphinx later. Anyway, and at no time during the experiment should the viewer see or speak with people who choose the target or create course. They're afraid you're going to read their minds. So you can't be anywhere near anybody who knows. When the viewer is writing down and drawing impressions, you don't try to interpret it. You just put everything down. And then record your first impressions. If you smell something, write it down. You just, everything goes down and you don't look at it until you're done. And when you're drawing your impressions, you yourself as the viewer try not to interpret it. You just say what you see. It's kind of like when Priscilla relays a message, she relays exactly what she hears. She doesn't try to interpret it. And it's like the rest of you, when you're doing your readings,
Yeah.
you say what you see or what you hear, but you don't try to interpret it, because for us, it probably doesn't mean anything.
Mhm.
Right?
Correct.
So you all know where I'm coming from. Okay. And it says that it's up to the individual viewer. If you just be relaxed. Sometimes, I mean, if somebody puts you on the spot and says, "What's there?" I usually have to wait for a while, because that's what's there tightens everything up in me. I have to let everything relax, and then I can find out, but I can't do it that fast. And like everything else that we do, we try it and we try it again and we try it again until we do it. And the more we do it, the better we get.
Yes.
So anyway, I was going to ask you guys what kind of experiences that you had, but I thought maybe I better go first so you know what I'm asking about. Okay.
Good idea.
Okay. These are some of the things I remember. And I told you about in the second grade and my dog getting hit by a car, and I visited her in the middle of the night. I thought I was dreaming. It was good imagination. I felt good after it. Yeah, he's there. He's taking care of her, but I didn't think it was real. And then one day I was thinking about the Sphinx and wondering about it, because they closed it off so much. And they talk about the library. Well, I could see the library they were talking about. And I understand closing that off because it's all in scrolls. You don't want anybody messing with those things, But they've got tons of scrolls there. But all of a sudden I found myself in a different passage. And when I looked and I turned around and looked back, and there was behind me, kind of like a doorway or opening to the hallway I'd been in. Only nobody ever saw it. It was like hidden. And all I could see in front of me was like it was a platform, and then there were steps going down. So I went down the stairs, and there was this huge room down the stairs that nobody was in. It was, or been there for a long, long time. And it was kind of cool because the first thing I saw were shelves with machines. And I don't even know what the machines were, but there were machines, and there were scientific stuff and experiment type things and flasks and books. But the thing was, over to the right was like a one passenger spaceship. I don't know how they got it there. I don't know how they're going to get it out. But it was just sitting there in perfect shape. And I'm going, that's cool, Anyway, so yes, I do remember the space. And the thing that I feel is lucky for me is that if I've talked about it and mentioned it or really tried, it makes an imprint on my brain. And so when I go back to talking about it, I can see the same thing over again. It's not gone. It's imprinted.
That's cool.
In it. And like inside Mount Shasta, when we were there, I went down in. I don't know how I got to it because I was down in the middle of the big city. I don't know the way I got there, but I know I was down there. And it was a bustling city, and it was kind of cool. A little scary because nobody looked like me, but it was still kind of cool.
What did it look like?
Oh, it had buildings, but it was more than just buildings. It was architecturally pleasing, if you know what I mean. I mean, the buildings were different, and you wanted to look at them and see everything. And there were statues around, and this is new stuff for me because I'm looking. And fountains. They had fountains going through, and it reminds me a little bit of Texas, San Antonio with the river running through, because they did have some canals running through there.
So is it like crystal light inside?
The lighting again is with crystals. Yeah. And it's coming from above. I don't know. I didn't see any sides, and so I don't know if it's got on the sides. But you could, the light was shining from the crystals. Cool. It's kind of like starlight, only it was crystals. And then Lake Tahoe. I didn't realize that lake was so deep.
Yeah.
I mean, it is deep. And down at the bottom of it, again, I don't know how I got down there, but down at the bottom there is, it looks like a sci-fi station, because it's got like a dome area, and ships come in from underneath it, and it's all dry under the dome. And they come out of the water into the landing area, which is dry. They just get out and everything is dry. But it's like that dome keeps the water out. And there are
cool.
I haven't gone any further than where you land. I haven't walked in any further than that yet, because that was cool. You know? And Antarctica is a little bit like the same way, because again, way deep, there's passages through ice, but when you go down under the water, there is a domed area that acts like it does in Lake Tahoe, so you can go in underneath it. I just know it's there. And I know they go in and out, but I've never really,
Can you go in and out?
huh?
Can you go in and out?
Only if I'm in one of their kinds of ships. Because
No,
it's,
remotely. When you're remote viewing, can you go in and out of the dry area?
yeah,
Did you
I just haven't,
explore it?
I could, I just haven't yet.
Okay.
I get stopped at the landing place.
Right.
Not
Go
sure.
no further.
You
Go
know,
no further. That makes sense.
go no further. So I don't go any further. So
Right.
anyway, those are the kinds of experiences I'm talking about. If you've had any, do you have any stories? Go for it.
Oh, Jean, I'm going to put you up here.
I need some cheers, ladies. Some
Wait a minute.
cheers.
that needs
Hey,
to be
cheers.
Say,
She's got to move you.
There you go. Sorry.
hi, everybody. Well, one of my very first experiences in remote viewing, it was accidental, and I was doing shamanic energy healing, and I was doing a shamanic journey with a group, and we were to go to our favorite tree and travel to the lower world and meet our spirit guide that would show us, whatever. Like there was a instructions and a task that we were supposed to do. And my favorite tree, so I was living here, and my favorite tree was where my mother lives, and she had lived there for like 10 or 15 years. And right at the end of the block, there's this big, beautiful old oak tree. And I'm telling you, it's like they didn't build a house there because they saved the tree. That's how beautiful it is.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I wanted to go to that tree. So I'm in this shamanic journey, and our teacher is like drumming away, and everybody's going on their journey. And I'm like, I'm going to go visit my mom. So I went over to my mom's front window in her kitchen. She has a big bay window in her kitchen. And I went and I looked inside in her kitchen, and I could see her cleaning up some dishes and putting some pans away. And I felt like I was like this little ball of light that I was just kind of peeking in the wind. I wasn't a physical body. I wasn't a human. It was just me, my it was like a little ball of light, like it was an energy source.
Like your
And
consciousness.
perhaps I think it was more than that. It felt more real, because then I went to the tree and then went into the portal in the tree in order to go to the lower world and to complete my journey, the task of meeting my spirit guide and having them, show me around a little bit or whatever we were supposed to do in
Mhm.
that journey.
Cool.
But the fact that I went over and looked at my mom, so the next time I talked to her, I said, "What were you doing at 7 p.m. on this night?" And she was like, "I don't know." She didn't know what she was doing. I said, "I saw you. You were on the phone." I said, "You were cleaning up some dishes." Like I saw, she goes, "That's probably true." Like she couldn't validate it or not, but it was just really fun. And like Heather said, it's something I've never forgotten. It's something I can remember exactly what she looked like in through the window. And it was sort of a little bit dark out, but she had the kitchen lights on, so you could see in through the front window really well. And it's something that I'll never forget, that image. It's
That
really
feeling, that image. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
it was enough
beautiful.
to make a big impression on your brain.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm So that's my story.
Cool.
Thank
Anybody
you.
Who's
else got a
next?
story?
Well, yeah.
I know you do,
Terry's
Terry.
I know
best.
you do.
Terry's the journeyer.
Actually, I'm not the one you can say, oh, Terry's going to know, because actually I find remote viewing very difficult. I took
Really?
the Oracle of Whimsies class and could not
What?
really do it. But I do remember things that happened. It seems like when I was a kid, I was more sensitive to this. I do remember probably just daydreaming and going into my grandmother's house and seeing her looking for her glasses, her reading glasses, that she'd put them somewhere, but I saw where they were. And I remember it was close to the end of school. I think I was probably daydreaming in school. And then when I got home, I called her and said, "Oh, Grandma, your glasses are over there."
How
and she
funny.
went over and found him. And I'm like, but she never kind of questioned, why is my little granddaughter calling me to tell me where my glasses are? How did she know I needed them? That never
That's so
occurred to
cute.
her.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And
Very
you
cool.
don't feel like when you're journeying, you're not traveling
Oh,
remote?
I
Well, I guess
do, but
that's astral travel as opposed to
I
remote
thought that
viewing.
we weren't supposed to go in our astral body.
Yeah, that's sorry, wrong.
So I don't know. When you do the little box thing, well, like in class, I was in class with a lot of you. You're supposed to
Yeah.
get in the box and see what's
Yeah.
in there. I remember Jean and Terry Lee, like they nailed it, and I didn't get in the box. So I don't know. Yeah, I think that for me, it's also about space and time. Like Jean
Mhm.
said,
Yeah.
that I think sometimes when we're going on astral journeys, we're actually going through time too, a different
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah,
believe
I
so.
agree.
And
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
we're going through time because time didn't exist where we're going. It only exists here,
That's right.
That
right?
makes a lot of
It's only
sense.
here that there's
There is
linear time. So yeah,
Yeah.
we are going through space, time, dimensions, all of it, I
Mhm.
think.
And it makes it easier to get wherever you're going because, I don't know when it was that I was in that room down below in
What room? You
space.
mean in the Sphinx?
Yeah, I don't know whether that room has collapsed by now. No, it hasn't. So anyway,
Yeah.
but I never know when. I just
The way I
don't know.
remember you talking about that room, Heather, was that you had to have a certain vibration to be able to walk through that door into those extra
Exactly.
rooms, and the frequency of humanity right now is not ready for those doors to be open.
No,
That's what
and
I
you
remember.
can't see them. It's completely hidden.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because we're not ready.
No, but it'll be there when we are.
Wow.
Sem has a question for you, Heather. Sem wants to know, can this be done also in dreams? And I think that may be a good point to clarify once again.
As far as I'm concerned, if you're planning on going somewhere and you fall asleep, I think it could be done in dreams if you're remembering it. I really don't know. What do you
Well,
think?
I thought we were saying that when you do it in dreaming, it's called astral traveling. When you do it in
Right.
awakened state, it's remote viewing. And perhaps more differences, but that's basically.
Yeah. You have to be awake in order to be able to remote view. Because if you travel someplace, you're not remote viewing.
Yeah.
So
It's a
if you're,
little
are you saying only your light body, a little light body, like what Terry was seeing, is what moves with you when you're remote viewing?
I
That
think so.
you
Because
have to have some kind of energy that's going to that place, even if it's not your entire body, correct?
right. And that's what I thought too. But they seem to think that if you're astral traveling, you're detectable. If you're remote viewing, you're not.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh, that is interesting. I think that's the point we were looking for. That's the distinction. How
Yeah.
about that? Like,
Okay.
I would not invite anybody, but like if somebody came and, made my curtains blow or something, I don't think you could manipulate energy or anything here with your
Without
consciousness,
being
but
there.
right.
Well, for instance, remember, Priscilla, when we were at home and we were doing some things and we had somebody come visit us. Television
Yes.
personality.
Yes,
Yes.
I do remember.
We knew she was there. She wasn't remote viewing. She was astral traveling. We knew she was
Oh.
there before she said anything.
Yeah.
Right. Heather, you're frozen again, honey.
We're getting out there.
know, but,
We're getting
a
way
lot
out
of-
there.
So
But
you
you can
aren't
hear-
traveling. You're observing only. You're not traveling.
Right.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I have some interesting experiences and I'd love to get your
Yay.
take on it. I have
Yeah.
too had remote viewing like experiences when
Oh.
we've been doing the shamanic meditation and especially with drums, that's amazing. But sometimes I accidentally go somewhere else. Like the about 3 or 4 in the morning, I had been awake. I got up. I had a drink of water. I, laid back down. I was not asleep. All of a sudden, when I went to get in my bed, I thought, this is not my bed. And I felt like I was curled up in the corner of a cement building, and I could hear bombs. I could hear people screaming. I could feel just terror. I'm like, and I'm looking around, but that's where I was, but I knew I was awake. And
Right.
then I heard language and I heard people talking, and I listened very carefully to see, well, where is this? Where is this that I'm at? And it was Ukraine. And I felt it. I was there, and it kind of terrified me for a minute, and I just kind of came out of it, and then I just snapped out of it. I've had weird things
Wow.
like that happen. And then I have what I think I can only describe as time slips. I don't know if you guys know, but I've had an experience where I've been riding in a car with my husband, and all of a sudden I look out and everything's slow motion, right? And it's another car coming past us, and it slows down, and I turn and look, and I see us in the future, and I know it's us. I'm like, holy shit, that was me.
Wow.
It was me and my husband in the car. And then it just poof, goes away. It's almost like the universe kind of messes with me, I don't-
Yeah.
it's
They have a
like
sense of
playing a
humor.
joke on me or something. But I have real weird kind of time slips. Time slips are a known fact that it does happen, where someone, I'll give you a great example. A gentleman went shopping with his wife, and she went across the street into the ladies' clothing store, and he went over to get something, I think at the hardware store or something. He comes across the street, and he walks to where she was, but it wasn't the ladies' clothing store. It was a library or a bookstore. That's what it was, bookstore. So he looks around, and everybody's wearing clothes from like the 20s and 30s. Everybody was dressed, and he had that like, holy crap, what's happening to me kind of feeling. And then he turned around, walked back across the street, said he was terrified, and then he walked across the street again, and the ladies' clothing store was there. And they did research and found out about that city, and what was in that city in the past
Mhm.
was the bookstore. So, and that's a
Wow.
time slip. That's a time slip.
Yep.
So
Dee, dee,
interesting.
dee, 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 dee.
Yeah. I
That's
love
cool.
stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's cool. That's cool. And that's definitely changing times.
So, Terry
Yeah.
Lee, do you think that he was back in the 20s, or do you think he was viewing back in the 20s? Were the 20s real, or were the 20s his memory?
I think that he stepped back into time. And this particular show that I saw this described on was talking about time warps and time slips, and how time is not organized like we think it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's entirely possible to happen. So
Mm-hmm.
And I can see the normal person denying that anything like that ever happened.
oh
And
yeah.
so they forget about it.
Yeah. No, this guy was
Yeah.
great. He did the research on it, and he found out. So yeah, interesting, because, and also he was looking for his wife. So it wasn't like he was remembering a past life where he didn't have his wife.
Mhm.
She should be here. Where is she? What is this place? And then that whole thing happened.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had a time slippage, I think is what you would call it, to
Yeah.
avoid a wreck. I was merging, and I knew I was going to die. I knew I was going to die. I could see the wreck coming. And the
Wow.
next thing I knew, I was exactly where I wanted to go, and everything was fine.
Oh yeah.
In a split second,
Yes.
I was from one lane and moved over 4 lanes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
In a
From the
split
beginning
second.
to the end without any middle.
I'm not
Yeah, it
sure.
was the
That
beginning and
sounds
end and no middle.
that sounds a little bit more like divine intervention, or an angelic intervention for
It was
you.
I don't know if that was what it was, a time slippage because of angel intervention.
There you
Oh,
go.
Is
okay.
what I would think.
Maybe it's their tool.
My guardian angel saved
Yeah.
my ass,
Yeah, that's for sure.
literally.
Well, there's another topic for somebody to explore.
Oh,
Well, we do need 12 new topics soon, ladies.
Yes, we'll all have to have new ones soon.
That's true.
So,
Any other stories?
Joan, do you have one?
I just can't think of anyone.
Okay.
Most of them, sometimes I will kind of go and check on family members that I'm concerned about, but it's more of a feeling, and I'll get images, but not like being there and walking into the room. So it's similar, but not quite what you're describing.
That's just how you see. You
Yeah,
feel.
and I think that's
There's
still
nothing
remote
wrong with that.
viewing.
That's just how you see it.
Remember, all of us share our clairs in different ways.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
this is no different. Remote viewing is going to be different for each one
So
of us.
your remote viewing has to do with your feelings. It doesn't, you're viewing, but not through your eyes. No big
That's
deal.
true. Yeah.
So,
And I
you-
think it's sort of, on those occasions, it's like me not wanting to, really get too personal. It's like,
Intrude.
I just need to know exactly. I just need to
Right.
know
You're
you're
just
okay.
checking.
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
I think that's something that we do need to say something about is the ethics of remote viewing. You don't go remote view on somebody just because you want a nosy. And that's not what
No.
it's about.
No.
Well, you don't want to intrude on people's privacy. So we do need to say that. Of course, we don't believe that if it has to do with the government and dark money and all that sort of stuff. We want to go see that.
That's also the reason why we don't do third-party readings. Like if somebody wants to know if a boy likes her or not, we can't go and find out from him how he feels without his permission. So that's sort of
Exactly.
along those same lines. But I just had a quick question for Terry Lee.
Yeah.
While you were in that cell in Ukraine, or not the cell, but the cement in the corner, do you
Yeah.
think that you were merging with somebody's energy, that you were like blending with their vibration or
entirely
with their
possible.
memories or with their being to experience that?
It's
Like, was there
entirely possible. And my reaction to it was, once I snapped out of it, was to immediately pray and just pray for, because I didn't know if it was me or I was feeling someone else. So just pray for the situation, sending
Right.
energy into that situation. And, and then you can really get
I
out
think
there
she
and
was
say, wow, was
praying.
that person?
I think she was praying, and you were
Yes.
hearing, and you called. You heard the call, and when did you wake up? Did you dream it, or you were what
I
state
was
were you in?
definitely awake, ladies. I was awake because, like I said, I'd gotten up previously.
Oh,
And
okay.
I had just crawled back into bed, and it was like it snapped like that quick.
Mhm.
Like
And
a
then when I
flash.
started to feel fear, it snapped right out after that. But
Yeah, it's kind of
that
like
was my instinct, was to just send that energy and peace and protection.
It could
But
be
yeah,
somebody from your soul family praying for help, and you heard it.
could
Mhm.
be.
I don't
That's a
know.
good-
It's
that's a
like
good
when
thought,
I
Jan.
remote. It's like when I remote view. I just think of where I want to be. Boom, I'm there.
Yeah,
Like
that's
boom, you were there.
yeah,
I
interesting.
don't know how I get there. I just there.
I
And that
bet
just
if you were
happened months ago too.
I bet if you were under hypnosis, you'd be able to go back there and see if it was somebody, if you were helping somebody, viewing somebody, just blending with somebody. If it was it could have been your twin soul or another incarnation of your soul that you were
The
connecting with. I
Akashic
mean,
records for that.
Akashic records would be good for that.
Yeah.
Too bad we
I
can't.
think there's several
Akashic
people here that do Akashic records. I think 6 of us.
I think we have access to resources that are so abundant.
Yes.
Do. And
We
as
just
Unlimited. We really are. Our resources are unlimited. The
Mhm.
potential
They
is
are.
unlimited. We limit ourselves by living in a little human box
we are
instead
very
of trying to get out of it.
I think the knowledge that we are powerful too. I mean, because I have these early 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning things. That's my most spiritual time. That's when I just can feel it, man.
Right.
But I believe that that's part of why we're here, to not only realize our power ourselves, but help other people realize their power as well. And I
Yes.
focus a lot on, world events and people that need help or people that ask for prayers, boy, when somebody says pray for me, I'm like, okay, and I
Okay.
dedicate
Yeah.
that time to them because they're
You
counting
do.
on it. They're
Mhm.
counting on it. So
And prayers work.
And,
I had,
and I think the 3 or 4 o'clock stuff is universal because
yeah.
you and David were always up. So
Always.
we're up and between 2 and 4, then they'd have a cup of coffee. And so I think it's universal. And I wake up a lot of the times around 3.
well, somebody's got to start getting me out of bed earlier because I can't.
There's some fascinating comments I'm seeing.
Well, I tell you, I didn't start seeing that kind of stuff. I was not up at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning until I was retired. Once I retired, that's when everything opened up for me anyway. So I can't imagine having to be up at 3 o'clock with whatever's going on and having to get up at 6 o'clock and go to work.
Oh yeah,
That would be horrendous.
yeah.
Oh, well, our time zones are different, but I usually wake up around 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock is the dog. So I'm up at 6 every day anyway,
Yeah.
or
That's-
5:30.
You see that
Terry
time?
Lee, I think you have access to the chat if you want to
Yeah,
pop
I'm going to
something.
back up here because I thought Sem had a really interesting comment. John Moss is the British psychic medium. I was watching one of his discussion podcasts, and he mentioned something like a time slip. He said he used to work as a bus driver and he used to drive long distances. That makes perfect sense because you're in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, that one time slip was when I was in a car. So that's interesting. Thank you very much.
And I never minded driving long distances. I got some really cool ideas during that.
Okay, so here was another one from High Vibe and 888. My husband and I were almost in a multi-car accident, but then we got dizzy right at the moment of impact and the accident never happened. And the car
Wow.
right through the car ahead of us.
Wow.
That is
Wow.
wild, but
Definitely intervention.
yeah, absolutely. You know, I've also heard people talk about driving on the road and someone was walking in the road and they were afraid they were going to hit them. They were sure they were going to hit them. There was no time. And they went right through the person and looked back and the person was back there. They didn't do anything with the car to avoid it because they didn't have the time. Wow.
Freaky.
Yeah. Well, wasn't that soul's time to exit the planet? Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know either.
We don't know anything, do we?
I know nothing.
The more we know, the more we know we don't know.
That's true. The
It
more
was
I know, the
like
dumber I
when got
get.
out- When I got out of college and I was ready to teach art, and I'm going, there's no way. There's so much I don't know yet. I don't know. Then I walked into the classroom. They know a heck of a lot less than I do. I can teach.
So do we have time? I have another quick little story when
Please.
Heather, we were in practice and we were in a breakout room together. Heather and I were together. And I asked for a message from my father on the other side. And she starts telling me that, you know, he has curly hair or whatever, and, you know, whatever. And he's this tall and he's this, you know, and it looks like he walks in a front door and it looks like there's stairs to the left. And he walks back to the kitchen and I see a room that has a fireplace. And then I'm like, Heather, you're in my house where I grew up. I'm like, you can see all that? And she's
Yes.
like, and he didn't live there and I didn't live there, but it was when we were growing up that she was in that house. And she said, yeah, this room had mirrors in it. This is where the dining room was. And I was just floored.
Wow.
And so it was not existing, our house at that time, but it was her trying to connect with my father. I don't know if he had these memories that she was picking up on, but she was definitely there and had the whole layout of the house. And then I said, let me see which bedroom is mine. And she said, okay, I go up the stairs, I make a left, and it's the first bedroom on the left. And I just about lost it. And there are 6 bedrooms in that house. I'm like, there's no way you could have known that.
Wow.
And it was exactly the bedroom where I grew up as a kid. I mean,
Wow.
I haven't been there in, 40 years, but I mean,
That is so cool.
30.
That's what
Yeah,
I
that
said.
was
What was she seeing? Because that house is not there at the time. So was it your dad's memory? What was she seeing? Your memory?
Well, there's no time past us, so it could have been anywhere.
Yeah, it's
could
fascinating
have
to
been
think
him
about.
trying to impress what he remembered because that was, when we were all growing up. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know, but she knew it. She knew which one.
Wow.
She knew it was really, I was like, I was letting her go, letting her go. And then when she said the fireplace room and described the fireplace room, I was like, okay.
Wow.
That's
That's
what I said. If
wild.
I get started, I just keep going.
That's so cool.
And it's great for finding things, perhaps, or finding, reconstructing an accident or something, like trying to find out what happened at what time, slowing things up and backing them up and going through step by step. It could be used for many different things.
Yeah, I have got to be able to do this. It drives me crazy. I'm going to start practicing.
I was just going to say that. That's so funny, Priscilla. I'm like, yeah, I'm
Practice is
going to
good.
meditate right now and get my meditation on.
I got to go. I got to go meditate. Use that 20-second thing.
But there are a lot of places you can learn it.
Yes.
But it's basically meditation, and you do that very well, so there should not be any problem.
Yeah.
Love to meditate. I have considered doing it, a class several times. Sometimes I have a lot of interest and I want to learn and do things, but I keep being reminded to focus on what it is
Yeah.
I'm doing right now and perfect that. And don't worry about that right now. Stick with this.
I have stacks and stacks of don't worry about that right now.
I know.
I know that feeling. I
Books
get
and
up, I go,
projects.
oh, I need to do this, and this. And I end up doing, no, you need this. I end up doing that.
Yep.
Well, it's an hour, ladies. That was jam-packed. Heather,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Oh,
That was
thank you
really
all for all
interesting.
your stories. That's what makes the show.
We love the stories.
And everyone in the chat. Great
Mhm.
stuff in
Yes.
the chat
That's
today.
great.
Thank you, everybody in the chat, for being here. We appreciate you and hearing about your stories as well. And I guess we have a show tomorrow on Atlantis, on the Crone Zone at 3:00. Ladies, do you have anything coming up in the next day or two you'd like to share before we go?
Yes, Wednesday, November 8th, I will be reading solo at 5 Eastern, 4 Central, 3 Mountain, and 2 Pacific. And then the next day, Thursday, November 9th, I'll have a special live guest, Terry Renner of Holding Your
Lovely.
Space. And that will be at 3 Eastern. So come on board.
Joan,
Check it
what
out.
about you?
Wednesday, 5:30 Eastern, 4:30, 3:30, 2:30 Pacific. Juno and I are getting together for our monthly
Oh, yay.
collaboration, so that'll be fun.
Yay. And Jean?
I'm going to be preparing for my next psychic fair on Saturday the 11th.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about that. That's going to be fun.
Great.
And we have Jay Marcus, Majestic Oracle. She's going to be with us next Saturday. So we've got Atlantis tomorrow, which is mainly channeled information, not by me, but by somebody else.
From
And then Jay on Saturday.
Cool.
So you guys have a great rest of your week. Thank you for being here. And we love you all. Go out and shine your light and try
And I
this
wanted to
remote
say-
viewing and get back to us.
Thank you for all of this technological, fantastic stuff where we wouldn't see Terry, because Terry is not even in the country. Where are you?
I'm in Japan.
Yeah.
In case you couldn't tell, she's in Japan. So Terry, thank you for making the effort to be here. It
We
is just
appreciate it.
fantastic. We all appreciate it. Until next time, goodbye, everybody. Have a wonderful week.
Bye-bye.